So we actually haven't mentioned this at all. I was specifically saving it. I thought it would be good for this episode.
Okay.
This week, or last week actually, Tyler Posey.
Okay. Yes.
Launched an OnlyFans.
He did. You joined it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it just his dick all the time?
No.
Oh. What's he doing?
Just pictures and it's okay. So there's a slight controversy. I thought it would go well here because Miss Bella Thorne is in this movie. Mm-hmm. There's a slight controversy about it. And I get it. I understand the controversy. However, I do think there is a slight misunderstanding. But basically, people are saying that it's become trendy for celebrities to go on to something like OnlyFans and capitalize off of the hard real work that sex workers do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it falls into the category of, like, obviously Conan O'Brien launched a podcast with, like, 4 million listens or whatever. It's like he's already a famous person. There's so many people who are trying to do something.
Why does he bother you more? But
he doesn't bother me more than any other.
Dax Shepard doesn't.
He does.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, you love Dax Shepard.
I do. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the quality or the content or anything. It just is like, you know, he got on like Time magazine and it was like the height of podcasting, and I just was like,
well, we're not gonna sell.
No, of course not. But the
us
issue,
on the cover. Well, Tristan and Layla would be on the cover of Time magazine.
The problem is that I think when celebrities do things like this, that like actual real people, and this goes more to the OnlyFans thing, because any, you know, dumbass with a microphone can make a podcast, as evidenced by this, but the issue with the sex work is like it's already such a denigrated profession, despite the fact that it's the oldest one in the world.
And I was going to say, but yet also clearly necessary.
Right. So it's already so denigrated, and like people are made to feel bad for doing sex work. But then, you know, Bella Thorne is like, I'm going to do cute stuff and charge people $20 a month. And it's like, obviously people are going to flock to Bella Thorne because she's a famous person and not utilize the people whose sex work is their actual job. Like, this is just a side hustle for Bella Thorne in a way that it's some people's only hustle, and you're taking their work away from them. It would be like if I just started making dumb movies. I
have so much to say. I realized that this was such a bigger conversation than I thought it was going to be.
Than for the opening of this episode?
Of The Babysitter. This is what we could do. We could just start conversations and then put the rest of it on the Patreon. Speaking of sex work, join our Patreon.
We're not posting naked photos.
No. I get it. I do. But there is nothing that states OnlyFans is for sex work.
No.
It was intended for it was intended to be like a Patreon.
Sure. I understand that.
It just had lax guidelines in a way that Patreon was stricter. And for me, I don't see how it's any different than having a fan club. Back in 2003, I was part of the Christina Aguilera fan club, and I had the keychain, and like you paid it was like $30 or something, and you got your poster and you got your swag. And someone that I'm interested in, like I said, literally, I did it just for the story. I did it just to be able to be like, I subscribed to Tyler. But I mean, I'm probably not going to stay. It was more, but I said to Rochelle, I was like, he can have my $15. Are you kidding me?
So
that kid.
The thing I think is, I agree that it was not initially made as like a sex work platform. However, it has been adopted as a sex work platform in the vein of like how lots of sex workers lost their income when Tumblr got bought like 4 different times in 2 years. And so it's the type of thing where I just feel like there should be some sort of conscience in these famous people to be like, well, this is not my job. I'm taking the livelihood away from someone.
I don't necessarily think that is true, though, because Tyler got me onto OnlyFans. And once that door's open.
Okay. That's fair.
And frankly, I mean, this is an entirely different conversation. But I've said it several times, but I've been in a very pay your sex workers place.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where I was like, I mean, some of the stuff, it's not that expensive. It's like, I'll throw you $10 for a month's access of, I don't know. I have a lot more I could say. I think Bella was slightly stuntier, but also I do think because she's been on Tyler's, like she's directing segments for him.
Okay.
And he's mostly
still
just
together?
No,
okay.
But they're friends.
Friends.
He's mostly just being him.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, he's posting sexy pictures and a picture of his butt and like he did play the guitar naked. You couldn't really see anything, but it was like,
I'm not like in general opposed to the idea. It just does sort of smack of celebrity.
It does, but they also do legitimize it. And
that's fair.
And I feel like, you know, if he's going to actually follow through because Bella Thorne, it was like research and she like got in and got out and, you know, they denied that all those rule changes had anything to do with her, but
they probably did.
I'm a low key Bella Thorne fan. I can't say stan.
Okay. I think she's an interesting performer. I think if I had to hang out with her as a human person, I would cry. I don't think I could handle it.
But she doesn't get, well, OnlyFans issue aside, she doesn't get out of her lane. Like she doesn't. I mean, I guess she does. But I don't know.
To me, she feels messy.
Yeah.
In a way where like I would go out for drinks with her and I would wake up at 3 a.m. doing meth.
Sure. I'm just saying she's not trying to launch like a Grace Kelly biopic. Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your... Why do we change in the middle?
I don't know.
Your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, but we'll ease you in. We'll give you, as I've said before, a hastily blurted spoiler
alert.
But the thing about the show is we're not going to be precious about it.
Yeah.
We will get to the thing. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about not one, but both babysitter movies.
Woo woo.
And I'm actually kind of excited.
Me too.
So we have watched the first one. It was on my list to do in December of 2017.
I have no memory of this.
You were all about it.
I believe you, but I have no memory of it.
And so I finally got around to it. And I fucking loved this.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is my favorite kind of scary movie because it's funny.
I wish I could have seen this when I was 15.
Oh my God. It is. There's so many because when we were 15, it was a very like dark meta sort of commentary on scary movies place that we were in.
The edgy 90s.
And Scream and stuff. Was
and the gritty
like,
2000s.
Yeah. I love this place we're in now because like for the last 5 or 6 years, it's been funny, scary movies. I mean, there are obviously still scary movies, but we've seen a lot of funny, scary movies, and they are my favorite.
But we're also now in like, because you mentioned commentary from like the 90s, but we're like in funny commentary or poignant commentary.
Which this movie shockingly has both.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You know, something like, for instance, The Babadook. It's an excellent movie. It's an art house movie. It's art horror.
Yeah.
But it's also like a metaphor for grief and trauma. And that adds a layer to the movie that really...
Well, and like It Follows is like, you know, there's a promiscuity angle and stuff. And it's like very...
And I think this is the least of them, but I think that carries over into this one.
The promiscuity?
No, the metaphor for... Because the concept of... a babysitter feels a little bit like it's on its way out.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm just removed.
We're just old enough and we don't have kids, so.
Well, you just don't see it a lot in pop culture.
Sure.
But I had a babysitter. Her name was Courtney Kim Han. And I had a crush on her. She was like, I was a kid. She was a teenager. And this movie delves into that. And it's sort of like how he's meant to be 12 in this movie. And do they ever say how old she is?
Well, the rest of her, like, people are in high school. So I was thinking, like, 18.
Yeah, we'll go with 18. But he is clearly very smitten with her. And she, in many ways, is mentoring him.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get to a place where lines blur.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy for the most part. And I think it's part of like a coming of age.
Well, because the lines are just like blurred. Nobody's like, this is turning into a Robin Thicke apology tour. Nothing is overstepped. She's not overstepping. He's not overstepping, except for when she lets him have a shot of alcohol.
I think that's harmless, but
12?
I'm not saying specifically that an 18-year-old babysitter giving a 12-year-old a double shot of I'm not going to go into specifics, but I think that sort of dabbling in things like finding the Playboy, like whatever. I think it's rites of passage.
That's fine. You're right. There's no crossing of any lines, and it is very like that's the way you learn about. He's
sort of in love with her, and she knows that, and she uses it in ways and in most of the ways I think is genuinely helpful, like good for him.
Sure.
He needs the confidence. He needs, like, a lot of times you need someone a little bit older and cooler than you to come in and
be like, this is what you're doing not quite right.
And also this is cool, like this is okay, but here's how to like utilize it. And I really loved contrasting her against a age appropriate like love interest for him.
Yes.
His female neighbor.
Yeah.
I do not remember her name. I don't remember the names in this.
Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
Played by Snakebite Andy from Dr. Sleep, for anybody who's curious.
And I think that was really interesting, seeing him go back and forth from B to Melanie, the ways in which he was like, I'm going to relate to her here, but then I'm going to relate to her here and all this. And so the plot of the movie is that he is kind of a dork, and his parents, who by all accounts actually seem great, played by favorites of ours, Leslie Bibb and Ken Marino.
I love,
and they actually made so much, like they were so good together.
Because that's the thing is, like, I was for like a minute, I was like, maybe I feel like Leslie Bibb is like too hot for him, and then we both at the same time were like, Ken Marino's really hot, and I was like, yeah, he is.
Friend of the show, Ken Marino.
He is, yeah, he does.
He just follows us.
Well, he follows us. He's followed us for like a year.
No, I love them so much, and actually, because I had a whole rant I was gonna go on about Leslie Bibb that I'll condense.
Okay.
But it annoys me when men in comedy have such iconic careers and they go on and do, like, Will Ferrell is doing comedy for his entire life or whatever. Yeah. But then we just sort of cycle through the female leads.
Yeah.
And because I was going to say a similar thing about Christine Taylor when we were talking about her in The Craft last week, because it's like she was the female lead of Zoolander and she's hilarious. She's actually such a gifted comedian.
Yeah.
Watch the Brady Bunch movie.
Oh, my God.
Like, and it does bum me out that they sort of get tossed aside while the same Steve Carell, Will Ferrell,
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I do think we are coming out of that, as evidenced by Leslie Mann.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Or even Jennifer Aniston has become Adam Sandler's, like,
I do.
Meg Ryan.
No. There is something that sort of still sucks about it, though, because when's the last time Jennifer Aniston made, like, a serious movie? Mm-hmm. The Good Girl. That was, like, 15 years ago.
Cake.
Well, that one didn't do as, like, gangbusters as The Good Girl. And so it's the type of thing where, like, to compare Leslie Bibb to her real life partner, Sam Rockwell, I mean, he did, like, funny and, like, weird stuff, and he's got, like, 2 Oscars in, like, the last 4 years, and it's like, where is her serious thing? She could do it.
Well, and she had GCB, which unfortunately tragically was canceled after one season.
But even still, that's the thing where it's like, I'm not saying she needs to do a serious thing, but I don't think she's getting called for serious things. And that's the type of stuff that bums me out.
Well, I think this was good for her. Yeah. And I think for both of them. And I think it was also dignified. Like, it was like, oof, you've been like demoted, relegated to the housewife. I think that they had bits. They had a couple of jokes in the movie and stuff.
Well, plus the what seemed like organized monthly hotel sex was really funny.
There was commentary in this movie. I was like, and again, directed artfully by McG. I kind of love him.
So I was looking at it earlier because I had forgotten why I initially liked
Charlie's Angels,
McG, and
music videos.
So many. Actually good music videos, because say what you will about Smash Mouth, but he did a bunch of Smash Mouth videos.
He did All-Star.
And he did All-Star, and he did some Bare Naked Ladies, and I was just and Every Morning for Sugar Ray, and I was like, these are some actually low-key good videos, and so I just...
And this movie was stylish.
It was really stylish.
Very, not quite distractingly so, but there were a handful of times where I was like, why is this a Tim Burton house? And it suits the movie.
It does.
You really loved the house, though.
The house was so pretty. If I live my whole life and I can never live in a house like that, but show a weekend, I'll be sad.
The scene where they show the outside of the house, it was just so kind of...
It didn't suit the rest of the neighborhood. It
was surreal. Yeah. It was a little bit bigger than it was supposed to be, and there were not quite as many windows as there should have been. Well,
especially on the one side where you get into the crawl space, and it also was a really, really dark colored siding in a neighborhood full of brighter houses, and the one paned window on the front. I was surprised nobody
went through that.
A person's body didn't go through that.
McG, his signature is very bold primary colors, bright, bold. Think about Charlie's Angels, all the red and yellow and it
was reminding me of something very specific with all the way the words were coming on screen, and I don't remember what it is now.
Well, they do that in Crank.
No, it wasn't Crank.
They do it. It's been done. It's
been done, but it was reminding me of something specific, and now I can't place it. But yeah, it was very cool. It was actually a little bit of the midnight coterie of Sinister Intruders. Yeah.
It had me from the drop. Immediately it had me. And I loved every time that he was talking to, was it Meredith?
Melanie.
Yeah. Melody Bostic.
It's Melanie, but yeah.
Anytime he and Melanie were talking, they were in normal speed and all the kids around them were in slow motion.
That was wild. That was such a weird, interesting choice.
It was showing that they get each other.
Yes.
It was showing that they're ahead of their peers.
Yeah.
And it was just the way I related, because I related to this boy. I was him when I was young. And so I just was oh my God, watching this movie, I wasn't expecting The Babysitter on Netflix starring Bella Thorne to hit me in the heart. But there were so many things in this movie. I was I remember this.
Well, so it was also reminding me a little bit of all of those teen pool party movies that we've watched. Because whenever the the 8th grade Henry Gamble's birthday party, because when the main kid is under the water, it always turns into slow motion while they're observing their peers. And so it felt kind of like that to me. But I also, you said that 2017's The Babysitter, and I just was it's one of those things too that it was a blacklisted screenplay, which basically meant that they didn't think it was going to ever get made. It was one of the I forget how they phrase it, one of the best but best unproduced screenplays of the year in 2014. Yeah.
Why was blacklisted according to who?
No. It's just called The Blacklist, a list of the most liked unproduced screenplays of the year. But so it had been going since 2014.
This wouldn't have done well in theaters.
No, and it was originally supposed to be a theater release, and so then they finally made it, and then in 2015, and then it didn't get released until 2017.
So they did make it in 2015. Yeah. That makes more sense. Yeah. I thought their ages were slightly off.
15 or 16, but it didn't get released for a while because then Netflix acquired it.
So then he probably was 12. I was according, because I looked it up and I was he's 15, but.
So that's the kind of thing where it's wild to me every time I read one of those trivia pieces where it's this movie that I ended up loving was on that blacklist. Cause I'm how did nobody want to produce this movie? It's so clever. It's so smart. It's so funny. Look, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about what that means about the world.
Remember in a favorite of ours, The Final Girls, every producer was does it have to be her mom?
Yeah.
Why can't it be her boyfriend?
No, gross.
Does Max have to be a girl?
Yes. I think that was on the blacklist too. That movie was there too. it baffles me because you have to, I mean, I guess not. I was going to say you have to imagine if you get into like a studio producer's job, you must love movies, but you'll just love money.
Well, in that regard, you're oversimplifying. In that regard, it's like you have to make your boss money. They do love movies. Yeah. But think about like Scott Pilgrim of the World flop.
Yeah.
Or Scott Pilgrim versus the World flopped. And is that what that movie's called? Regardless.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Like,
yeah. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, God.
No, but there's so many like really clever, really hip movies that just, they find their audience eventually.
Yeah.
But this, I don't think would have done well. I think people would have been confused. Like Cabin in the Woods, people would have been confused.
I agree. It's not that I disagree with you. It's just that it hurts my feelings to see something like this and then know that about it, that people didn't want to produce it, because it just makes me sad for the future when people are going to still not want to produce movies like this.
I think it's more an indictment on the state of the industry itself, because we were in blockbuster mania, where because the fact that this couldn't have been an expensive movie.
No.
So it's like, if we can get over the like world go boom, superhero, all this stuff. And I mean, I love those things too, but remember it was like 2017 was the first year where there were more major tentpole mega movies than there were weeks in the year. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think if there were to be a silver lining to the situation that we're in now regarding movies only, I think it would be that I think it's going to force studios to be making a lot more small budget things with small casts.
And a lot, because a similar thing happened in the 70s. Even though you don't love 70s cinema, at its time, they had to sort of
pretty hard
break
pivot.
the mold and then reshape what it meant. And I think we're there. And I think something like Netflix, for better or worse.
Mostly worse.
Is helping change that. Yeah. Save the society.
No, I definitely agree. And I think that's the type of thing that, and like take, for instance, the movie that's going to come out with John David Washington and Zendaya. Mm-hmm. That's like a 2-person movie, a 2-person cast and a director. And then like whatever other behind the scenes people they needed for like a 20-day shoot in the middle of coronavirus. That's the type of thing that I think we need to start seeing more of. A little more contained casts, a little more personal storytelling.
Neither movie is more valid than the other. However,
by necessity, we're gonna have to get there.
But also, it's the imbalance that has been the issue. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I love Avengers Endgame. Honestly, is probably one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Yeah. But when that's all there is, it cheapens the feeling the more you see it. So back to my whole comment. This is going to be a long episode. we have a lot to say. This is our thing. Like this is our
right up our alley.
Like patented.
Super us.
So back to the commentary. It's like, I think that the Satanism, that the evilness is a metaphor for the realization that she's not this idealized, perfect.
Sure.
Like that she's a sexual being with her own peers.
And her own agenda.
And that's going to scare him if he's not prepared for it, if he still has a chaste Melanie going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's really what I think it was sort of about. And again, I think of those types of movies, this is way more on the surface.
Sure. But there is that depth to it if you want to look for it.
I mean, as evidenced by the over-sexualization of all of them. I mean, Robbie Amell is just shirtless
the entire
movie. It's so funny. It's so funny. And it's the kind of thing that like teenagers would go see this and be like, that was stupid. They'd think it was just because he's hot. Yeah. It's like, no, it's because he's hot. Yeah. Not just because, like, you know what I mean?
Just because he's hot. Well, he's also, they're all playing tropes and they're all leaning into the trope, but it's in the way that Cabin in the Woods leaned into the trope with like the slutty girl and the jock and the
black
nerd
guy dies first.
Exactly.
I was like,
it's by leaning into the tropes in the way they do it, it also is a subversion of it and it's commentary on it. And I think that's the stuff that's so fascinating about movies like this and why I love movies like this so much, because it's such a more interesting take on the thing. Because I want to watch The Thing, you know? It's like, I love Scream. I love Halloween. I love all those movies that, like, from when we were young and, you know, the generation before us.
Halloween, Scream, The Babysitter.
Exactly. It's in a row. It definitely is in a row. And that's the kind of thing that, like, they're all inspired by each other in a way. And I think it's just so good.
The movie was so interesting and so funny because also it's like, for instance, like Robbie Amell is
so cute and charming.
I have a love-hate relationship with the Amell boys, but Robbie, I don't
really like Steven.
But Robbie has really kind of, and it's weird for me because I talk about this all the time, and it takes a while to understand, but he used to do nothing for me because he just was generic hot in a way that, like.
So I'll explain for anybody who's listening or watching.
Who's new.
Will cannot stand Justin Hartley from, what the hell is that show even called?
Family Practices. This Is Us.
This Is Us. Family Practices. Because he's just a hot dude.
It's nothing.
And he feels like boring. And so it's sort of like he's got like Justin Hartley face blindness. And so it was kind of the same with you for Robbie Amell, who I've always found appealing since we watched The Duff.
I mean, I can recognize and understand that he's attractive, but I'm bored. It's
and we were talking about it yesterday, or we were talking about it on Thursday because we were watching that show Upload.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sort of agree with you because it is just sort of like the perfect face. And I think he's very symmetrical and everything. And so it's like, it's very pleasing in a Fibonacci code way to like look at his face. But there is something a little too perfect about it. But I think he's so like cute and his personality is so charming.
And that's what started to happen.
That it's like, it's very appealing and satisfying to like watch him in these things.
It's almost like the role was written for him because it's a literal plot in the movie where he's right in the middle of menacing Cole.
Yeah.
The mean names his bully was calling him the Cole Sore. And that was funny.
It was pretty funny.
But he's right in the middle of menacing Cole, like about to murder him. And the bully shows up and Robbie Amell then just straight gives him like a full blown pep talk, kisses him on the head.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just,
and it's like, come on, champ. Go get him.
But it's just that kind of thing where it's like, I can see how Robbie Amell would be first of all, he's something to aspire to for Cole.
Yeah.
But also he would be something that he's terrified of. And given his dynamic with C, what was her name actually? Or B?
Yeah.
But it was, I guess it just
No, just B. But she called him C.
Okay. Yeah. He's a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's so many different things to him. And I just love that in the middle of this movie, there's a mentor subplot.
Well, it also, to go to your point about all the different things he is to Cole, he also is like a more masculine, older male figure than Ken Marino, because Ken Marino is like
a more traditional,
very suburban dad.
Bit of a soy boy.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know why I know that.
Yeah. But I think that's super interesting. And I think you're right, is that it is something to aspire to. It's a different, like adult form of masculinity to like look up to and everything. And that, you're definitely right. Especially, and then even contrast with Melanie's father, who's like just a fucking dipshit. I like with his stupid car.
The running joke about Protestants. Because it's like, because they're 12. And so it's like they have a concept of like sex work, but they confuse the word prostitute and Protestant. Yeah. They both say it. There are several other performances here. Interesting. Actually, a very good performance from Hannah Mae Lee. I like that she apparently can do other things than what she does in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
But the other things she does are somehow just as weird.
Well, because it struck me mostly the way that she was dressed, but also her initial attitude in this movie. It was very Le Jeune de Paris from SNL. And I just sort of expected her to start like dancing like they do.
She should have had a French accent.
Something, yeah. Well, because she had the very like cat eyes and like she wasn't wearing a beret, but she was wearing something on her head. And it was very, very funny. And then she turned out to be like extremely homicidal.
Yeah, psychotic.
It was very funny.
It was, and even the misdirect, because you were like turning yourself not quite nuts, but you were like, oh, because they were going into the crawl space with the spiders, and I just went ahead and told you, and I was like, the spiders are a misdirect. Yeah. And I love that. I would have never thought that in the crawl space full of tarantulas that she'd get blown up.
You can't just say spiders, because at a certain point you're like, well, yeah, like Harry Potter in the cupboard and there's spiders. And it's like, no, those are like little spiders. These were like tarantulas.
Yeah.
Furry, gross tarantulas. I can't.
Yellow spots.
I cannot abide.
Yeah. So I also, who was I guess John, he was the black guy.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, he did die first.
It was gruesome.
That is another thing for anyone, because I know, like, for instance, Rachel, I know that you like to listen to us before you watch some of these things. It is gory. Yeah. I think you can watch it. I think
yeah.
It is gory. But it's done with flair, and
it's sort of Tarantino-esque in that way, where it's like so over the top gory and horrible, and like head wounds don't bleed that way.
No, no, they don't.
Just
can you go through bone like that with a knife
if you have enough desire?
Okay, I just kind of always imagined it being like. Like
no,
hitting,
I mean,
but
it also depends where you go, because do. I mean, they're fused together, but you do still have seams in your skull.
It's a factor in the movie.
It is. It really is.
No, I am a little bit tired of the black person dies first trope.
Yeah.
Only because, like, I mean, I understand paying homage, but it also does just sort of still reduce visibility, screen time, whatever.
It does.
He was funny. He was a little much.
Yeah.
They all were a little much.
They were, yeah.
But I did love when he like did this gay thing with Bella Thorne. That I was like, wait, I couldn't tell if that was really him.
Sure.
Really,
I think so. I don't necessarily know if he was doing a gay thing, or I think he was mimicking her.
Kind of.
Yeah. But regardless, it was very funny. Apparently, he got famous on Vine.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. 2014.
Yeah. You're like, that makes sense.
Bella Thorne, we've come to the center.
Yeah. So for me, she's the one.
She's not the babysitter. We have yet to say Samara Weaving's name.
We were gonna get there. We were gonna get there. For me, Bella Thorne is the one who is doing the most in the best way.
Okay.
For me. Because while I do have kind of a love-hate thing with her, I do love her performances, especially in stuff like this. Less so
or Assassination Nation.
Yeah, less so in The Duff, because she's just mean in The Duff for what feels like no reason. But this is hilarious. At one point, she gets shot in the boob, and then the rest of the movie, she's like, who's gonna motorboat me now?
And she keeps talking about how it's deflated, and I'm like, that's not how boobs work.
Well, she was like, it's not gonna grow anymore. I know they weren't done.
And there's a scene where it's like Cole's responsibility to talk her off the ledge.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to murder him, and he's like...
So he punches her in the boob, in the shot boob.
And he was like, I can't defend myself. She was like, I wasn't trying to stab you in the dick.
That's right.
And he's like, well, you're still super hot. And she's like, you think so? It just, I don't know. It was
working for me.
And it's very standard. Like, she's not doing anything revelatory. No. It's a very standard, pretty girl.
But she also is the whole time wearing her cheerleading uniform with like the bow, big bow in her hair and everything. She looks like a friggin' poodle or a cocker spaniel. Like King Charles Cavalier.
I loved this movie. I watched it twice, and I'm like prepared. Well, I was gonna say I'm gonna go watch it again, but actually, we're gonna believe you can believe that this episode is not over yet.
No, it's not.
Did you have anything specific to say about Samara Weaving?
I love her to the point of distraction.
Okay.
When we watch things with her in it, and because the first thing I saw with her was Ready or Not, and that was this year. No,
a year ago. It was August of last year.
August of last year. Okay. So
no concept
of time. This year is 10 years and 2 months at the same time. So that was the first thing I think I saw her in. She is Hugo Weaving's niece, which is interesting. She is, in my opinion, like the perfect combination of Jamie Presley and Margot Robbie, who she also is somehow identical to. I love her crazy eyes. I think she is actually really, really good at her job. And I am dying to see her in something a little out of this wheelhouse.
More serious, yeah.
Or even just like a rom-com or something. Just like something slightly different, not like something without the horror bent. I would be interested to see how she dealt with something else.
It also can't be overstated how hot she is.
So hot. I think I covered that when I compared her to Margot Robbie and Jamie Presley.
She does Phoebe Cates in this movie.
She does, yeah.
She keeps her top on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like I loved it. I really, the more that I think about it, because they're like their thing at the end where, because he chooses Melanie over her, and
he also
kills her.
Yeah.
He identifies that she is the villain and that he has to kill her. Mm-hmm. And she's proud of him.
Yeah.
For doing it.
That's the stuff where I'm so interested to see her do something else, because the way she's vacillating between smiling and also like sobbing because she knows that she's dying and that she's lost him, and that, you know, but she's proud of him and she's happy that he like is finally standing up for himself and stuff. It's a very weirdly layered performance in this movie.
So when I was 12 years old, I was involved in a actually pretty good local theater called Port Tobacco Players.
I was going to ask, yeah.
And we did a run of Jesus Christ Superstar that was so popular they had to add 3 weeks to it.
Damn.
I mean, it was local. It was community
Jesus
theater.
Christ.
But anyways, I was 12 and one of 5 kids that was in it. And there was a girl named Megan who looked like Samara Weaving. Imagine. And I was smitten, just like over the moon, puppy dog smitten by her. And I remember one time leaving practice and she like got in her car to drive away and lit up a cigarette. And I remember being gutted.
Oh, no.
Like absolutely gutted. And
she did a bad thing.
And that's what this movie is about.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like that movie, I Love You, Beth Cooper, where the movie itself is not very good.
Hayden Panettiere. Right?
Yeah. But what it's saying is fascinating.
Sure.
And so
it's similar also then to The Girl Next Door.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was all about this. I loved this movie.
I'm all in. I am very curious to see what the second movie is like.
Yeah, I think they're all in it.
They're all in it. Very curious.
I mean, we were dealing with like the Necronomicon and devil, the satanic cult, so you could easily say they had already completed the spell.
Sure. That was one thing that was like, she was trying so hard to like put the fire out on the book once he lit it on fire, and I was like, that bitch is made out of vellum. It's going straight up. They're not saving any part of that
book. With that, we're gonna watch The Babysitter Killer Queen is the name of it. And
this one has Bella Thorne on the cover.
It's the Netflix. Netflix is like, I know what'll pull these fuckers in.
More Samara Weaving would have pulled me in harder.
Yeah.
Than Bella Thorne.
We are back. We watched
The Babysitter Killer Queen.
I was surprised to find, we already talked about the first one, but I was surprised to find that it was like as well received as it was. It had like a 78 or something Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And I somehow had it in my mind that this one was just as good, if not better. And so as we were watching, probably about like 30 minutes in, I looked down and it was not. This was not well received.
I don't understand.
I don't think this one was better.
No.
Okay. The first one's better. I think the first one's better.
Sure.
However, I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Well, because I think the first one is only better because it's that Stranger Things thing that you said. The first one is better because it was unexpected. And so this one, obviously, as most sequels do, it does the same things again, but slightly skewed and a little bit different and sometimes more bombastic. Well,
I was going to say, I think the overall experience of the movie was good, whereas the first one I thought was great.
Sure.
Having said that, this one has one of the better twists I'll say more unexpected twists I've seen.
Okay.
And it also has probably... I'll go top 5. I don't know, but I can't come to mind anything. One of the funniest
piss takes,
misdirects I've ever seen in a movie.
I prefer my coining of the phrase piss take.
Well, but it is also a misdirect.
It is also a misdirect.
We screamed.
We both did. Yeah.
Like screamed. Mm-hmm. I can think of maybe like 3 times I've ever screamed at a movie. Like,
but like a fun scream.
Both?
Yeah, well,
Sure, it was fun. And
I wasn't really scared once it happened.
No, but they're very rarely in a movie at Cloverfield. I screamed in Cloverfield.
Which part?
We both did when you see its face for the first time.
Right.
Remember the camera?
Remember when that was like new?
Yeah. We were in the theater and the camera swings up and you see his face. Yeah. And both of us were like, ah! Like I think we were even like holding, like we grabbed hands or something. Yeah. And The Grudge. I screamed in The Grudge.
I've never seen The Grudge, actually.
Really?
Yeah, no. Well, I was not old enough at the time, and then it was
PG-13 and we were like 18.
You know, my parents.
We were
not 18 when The Grudge came out. There's no way.
Yeah.
No. I straight up don't.
Okay, 17.
2004?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so we were 19.
You weren't old enough.
Then
you were in your art house film.
I was in that zone.
You were still ashamed of Buffy at that point.
Yeah. But I also was not always into like horror, and I really didn't get into the Japanese horror. I didn't see The Ring until I was like in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yeah.
This is not about that.
No.
So they claim it's 2 years later. It's fine. That totally works. Well, although everyone in the movie has aged about 8 years, and it's more obvious on some than others.
It like works, but it also doesn't, because Cole is supposed to be a junior, and if it were only 2 years later, he'd only be 14, which is like a freshman.
Well, you could argue that he was like you were a December baby, so it was like you were on the like. But
I turned 16 when I was a junior.
Sure, but it's like you could argue he was in 8th grade in the movie that we saw in the first one.
Sure.
And that the year is just starting now.
Okay.
It's like you can it's
you can make it work, but I also like
it's Teen Wolf logic, but it's fine.
I will say he got real cute.
So, yeah.
Real cute. And I can't let this pass without saying that I'm getting huge River Phoenix vibes from him. Like all over the map, like across the board. River Phoenix, for sure.
Because I didn't realize, I think I mentioned this earlier. Yeah, I mentioned this a lot in our last coverage. That I didn't realize the movie was not filmed in 2016 or 17. So
it was filmed in 2016.
14.
No. That was when it was on the blacklist.
Oh.
It was filmed in 2016.
Regardless.
And it came out in 2017.
I said it was one of the better twists, and I stand by that. It did hurt my feelings, and it sort of, well, did it diminish the twist is that in this one, the villain is Melanie.
Yeah, so it did hurt my feelings. I think I could have dealt with that, but then it also like retconned B.
Oh, I liked that.
I liked it because obviously it was emotionally resonant, but it was like she was straight up trying to murder him in the other one, and this one.
Well, no, she wasn't. I mean, she was willing to for much of it, but she was actually going out of her way to not give him every benefit. Kill him.
That's true. That's true. Okay, what's wrong?
It was the others. Yeah, I actually liked. I liked the. Well, I'm still talking about Melanie. Yeah, so
that did hurt my feelings.
I did not see it coming.
Me neither.
To the point where the hook was in that girl's neck by the time I realized what had happened.
Well, and the other thing,
already, the murder had already started.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, is that girl a demon? And I was like, oh no, Melanie is.
No, Melanie is. I think the thing for me is like when I was not aware where it was going until it was there.
Yeah.
Because I straight up thought that they were going to like just be on this trip into like Lake Havasu, I guess. I don't know where the hell they were, but I thought they were going to just like be on this trip, and then the villains from the first movie, like Robbie Amell and everybody, were going to come back, and they were going to all have to get through it. And so it was the same. It was not until the hook was across her neck that I was like, oh shit.
Because he was like, how did you know about the book?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, in my mind, I was like, he told her everything, and or she saw some of it, and she's been selling him out because she doesn't want people to think she's crazy.
Sure.
And so that's where I thought, and I think one of the reasons why it bums me out the most is because I liked what they were doing, what they were saying about their friendship and their relationship beforehand, because you got the sense that they liked each other. And we know he likes her, but more importantly, she likes him back, but she understood he wasn't ready. So she had, what was his name?
Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy. Jimmy was like my favorite of the new characters. Yeah. But she just was like, well, I'm going to get a starter boyfriend. And Jimmy was like an excellent starter boyfriend.
We've all had a Jimmy.
I was going to say. And so I just thought that was really interesting where she what I read into it is that she knew she was going to have to do a fair amount of the heavy lifting in her relationship with Cole. Yeah. So she was getting a head start.
I'll just figure out how this works with somebody less complicated first. So I will say, I don't think it cheapens their relationship in the first movie because I think she was sincere in the first movie. I think her making this deal was relatively recent.
I just liked that better, the implications of that better than this was a long con. It sort of took away basically all that I read into the movie in the first one is kind of rendered moot in this one.
Well, but again, I think it's not necessarily because I think it was a recent diversion from her original plan, like from actually being friends. I think it was not.
She wouldn't have done that if she cared about him that much.
Well,
I don't know.
Yes,
regardless,
that's true. But
and I will say that the one thing that really, because I reached a point where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this as much, and where I did like this as much is Emily Ellen Lynn.
Yeah.
Her performance was so good. Her crazy, like, demon version.
Well, and she changes clothes and puts on bright red lipstick at one point, which I also have on bright red lipstick right now. And all I'm saying is, if you're watching a horror movie and a girl puts on this color lipstick, stop trusting her.
But no, I thought her performance really brought me around. And then the second thing is how appealing Jenna Ortega is. She was so good that it helps that we really liked her in You season 2.
I was going to say, we rhapsodized at length about her when we were covering You season 2. And I'm really glad she's like continuing to get work because, and like oddly nuanced work for what the genres are. She's getting really very nuanced, interesting characters to play. And this was no exception. I liked it.
This is a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
And I could not be more here for just the sort of like balls to the wall this is not high fantasy.
But we both are very like comedy horror, fantasy horror. That like
three of them together.
I want to watch The Cell. I want to watch things like The Cell, and I want to watch things like this. And
that's
Cabin in the
almost
Woods.
high fantasy.
It's almost high fantasy, but it's definitely fantasy horror. I want to watch that. I want to watch this. I want to watch Cabin in the Woods. I want to watch Ready or Not. I want to watch It. Like those are the things I want to watch. Something that like is visually arresting and also funny and also poignant. And it's
and just magic. I like just getting lost in the magic of it all.
And all those things can exist.
Yeah.
That Venn diagram can be a circle.
Where it's like when we were talking about the movie Liar Liar. And I was like, do you remember in the 90s where casual magic fantasy was like totally fun totally fine in run-of-the-mill movies?
I love it.
And so I do think that that's interesting, and I think it's very freeing from a storytelling perspective. I think it was very well written. I think it was very funny. I think it was very clever. There were some odd references in this one, like some dated references.
There were a buttload in the first one too.
Like dated references?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they were very specifically referencing horror movies. Like when Robbie Amell is chasing him to the treehouse in the first one, and he's going.
Yeah, but that's like classic. I'm talking about like Tyga and Kylie Jenner.
Oh, okay.
Like that's like
gotcha.
That's not timeless the way that
is. Sure. Well, and then also John was trying to have like a like a Lionel Richie career.
Yeah, it was very. How long have they been doing this? It was really weird because this one was weirder than the first one.
It was a little
very.
weirder.
I cannot remember if we said this already, but the single most obvious comparison is Happy Death Day. I think.
Sure, I'll allow
and it's very similar. Where the second one is not as good as the first one, but it also, in some weird ways, is like more exciting.
It's like. To me, when movies like this are able to build on themselves, I think that makes them funnier. So I think parts of it were funnier.
Well, it's like I'm just actually interested in this world now.
Yeah.
Where it's like the first one was a better, more contained story.
Yeah.
But this one I'm like, oh, you could get some. It's like Pitch Perfect 2 or 3. It's like they're not as good as the first, but I'll hang out.
I would ride this horse into the ground.
Yeah.
At this point, like, I would just, however many babysitter movies you want to make. As long as there's a cameo from Samara Weaving at some point, I will sit down and watch it probably.
The gore was really funny in this one.
It's so aggressive. I think stabbing Sam in the brain in the first one was sad. Like, it made me feel sad for him. Nothing in this one made me feel sad, so it was all hilarious, and everybody involved was expecting it at every turn, so it was that, to me, made it the heightened violence more.
The scariest part of this entire movie was the snake.
Oh god,
the rattlesnake. Yeah.
If there's anything I like less than tarantulas.
No, see, I'm one of the people where it's like, I'm mostly fine with snakes.
Rattlesnakes?
Well, I'm not like afraid. I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm fearless, but it's like they don't unnerve me the way that you had to get your phone out when the scene was on. You were like, I need something.
I need to check the weather.
Yeah. I'm afraid of snakes in that I don't like the idea of two sharp things puncturing my skin.
So I'm going to go on a little walkabout right now because there's this, it's like a natural history museum in Milwaukee. And when I was young, my grandparents, everybody lived in Wisconsin. So we would go visit them. And there's like an Old West display and it's got like covered wagons and stuff. And then if you know where it is, there's like a rattlesnake partway like across the, tableau that they have set, and you can reach around into the display and push a little button and it makes the rattlesnake rattle. And we used to do it all the time, but it was that type of thing where I knew it wasn't real, but I would like reach in and push it and then like jump back because it would like rattle and I'd be like, oh god.
But no, that part was scary. I was gonna say it
went up his pants. It like went all up his whole...
But it like got through his belt into his shirt. That's where I was kind of like, this is fantasy.
He's like a skinny kid.
But the Sonia was even, I feel like, more unhinged in this one. She was a flamethrower.
They were all
they were all more unhinged. I like that they kept calling them old.
Yeah.
Because again, there's a wibbly wobbly timey-wimey thing happening in this movie.
Very Jeremy Bearimy situation.
Yeah, because it's like, according to the script, this is 2 years later, and it's like, they're like, hey, old folks. And it's like, I mean, at this point, Robbie Amell is identifiably 30.
He is, yeah. He's like a 30-year-old man.
32-year-old man playing an 18-year-old ghost. But again, shirtless the entire movie.
I think that was the right decision for me and my eyeballs.
Bella Thorne gets shot in the tit, the same tit again.
Well, she shoots herself in the tit this time because it like ricochets off the boulder and hits her in the tit again. I wish it
was the other one, but yeah.
So both of them got done? That would be funny.
And then her death was the most. It was the most funny because they like jumped down this crevasse and it was like deep because you were like, oh, you were like, oh god, this is like 127 hours. And then she jumps down after them and she gets wedged because her boobs are too big.
And then they pull her so that her head is stuck, and then they just like taffy pull her away from her body
and her head pops off, and I was like, I don't think this is medically accurate.
127 hour style, a boulder falls and lands right on her corpse. It's a lot. It's a real lot.
There's both a bunny and a deer that are very sweet, and they get blown to high heaven.
Yeah, and specifically beware.
It's played for comedy in the movie,
and it is funny because they both explode. Like, it makes sense for the bunny to explode getting shot at close range with like whatever huge caliber weapon that gun was, but the deer is far away and it's bigger and it is it's just legs.
Yeah, its full body explodes and the legs are like
very funny.
It was very funny. I believe there are people that are gonna watch this and be like, that wasn't funny at all. And so it's like, we're very game when it like,
I don't want to be friends with those people.
I think some of it's a maturity thing. I think some of it is your points of reference. Like, we've seen so many of these scary movies that it's like, it gives us a different appreciation where it's like, if you're still in the like scary movie part of your life, you're probably not going to find this.
That's fair. I do, though, also think that some people just aren't ready to have a fun time. Some people simply aren't fun at parties.
There were jokes fell flat. There were jokes that fell flat and stuff, but it has one of the more interesting sex scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So much so that it was not clear to you that they were having sex.
No, it was not.
It was clear to me that they were having sex.
Not. I might have not been looking directly at it.
They go full-blown discotheque. And
okay. I see. Yes.
To, what is it, Apache?
Yeah.
The jump on it.
Yeah.
Jump on it. And all of the other killers are in there with them. And it's like, I
was like, this is a weirdly avant-garde thing to be doing in the
musical number.
Well, and I just thought he was like, I just thought it was like him. He just was like, oh, yay, like a happy time. But no, it was like a real happy time.
No, there were a couple of like cutaways and flashbacks and stuff that were, the reliability of them was questionable.
Cool. Okay.
Because there's a Scott Pilgrim versus the World fight in this between the two girls where they're actually firing like laser, like it's stuff like that was like, we enjoyed it, but I can see how someone else that they'll be like, okay, this is dumb. I don't understand what's happening. But I just was enchanted.
Yeah, me too. Enchanted. I love it.
That was a strange word to settle on.
Yeah, enchanted.
David, it was his name David, or was it no?
Which one?
John.
Yeah.
He made it, and he was the last to die in this one, and he commented on it. Although, his material, I feel like a white man wrote the script, and there were a lot of like black, like he said Black Power when he died, and I was like, this feels lazy, misguided.
On the one hand,
it did serve him better having.
Well, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's just casually have that in movies. I'm into that. On the other hand, I agree with you. I think the white dude wrote it and it's sort of like,
But it had a fun reveal. I kind of wish that Samara Weaving was not in the movie until the reveal, because we see her in all of their flashbacks.
Sure.
And I don't know why they did that.
It would have maybe been better if we don't see who they're talking to until the end.
Sure. We would assume that it was her, but I think that should have been a reveal in a way that like 25 minutes in, it's telegraphed.
Sure.
And,
I also wish she weren't wearing that bad wig. It was very like, I don't have a part in my hair.
It was floating on her head.
It was just like, woo.
It's kind of, I say this all the time, but like in Happy Endings when they have the wigs on the helmets.
Yeah. A little, yeah.
But yeah, I liked her coming out of the lake and the like satanic ritual, and I figured as well as you did that she was Phoebe's babysitter.
Too. Yeah.
But I liked it. I liked her redemption arc.
It was sweet. I think she's going places. Samara Weaving, for sure.
But it was also the kind of thing that was like, that's what I wanted from the story. I liked her. I liked C and B so much that you want, even though that's kind of the whole point of the first movie and my metaphor, like my reading into it, is that they can't be together.
Of course, yeah.
And so it was
that age difference means something until they're like 30.
Yeah. And so I think it was a nice way to have your cake and eat it too.
Sure.
To have it and also not have it be a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Mercifully, Ken Marino made it. There were several times that we thought
we got a little worried for Ken Marino, but he did make it, and he like sees. So he believes Cole now, which is very nice. I liked that quite a lot. I appreciated that. Although I feel like Leslie Bibb is going to be a tough sell.
Well, maybe. So yeah, we'll see. Because I do feel like there's another. I feel like we'll probably get a third. We
could do one more. Yeah. Even though I said I would ride this story into the ground, I feel like maybe three is probably enough.
I did. One of the things I wrote down was I was like, there are a lot of choices happening in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, what are the 4 sequels that supersede the original? There's The Empire Strikes Back, The Godfather 2, Terminator 2.
Aliens. Some people
like X2. No, I don't know.
Some people think the second Alien movie is better.
I feel like the 3 are pretty certain.
Other than that, I guess I'm not sure.
I forgot to mention the first time I thought it was funny that Robbie Amell was just continually knocking the wind out of him.
Yeah.
Because he does it again in this movie. Yeah. And I just also love how much he loves Cole.
Okay. It's like the cutest thing to me because he
as he's dying, he's like, I'm not even mad.
I'm not even mad, man. I'm so proud of you. Get it, Cole. And I just like, it's very, very funny. I'm really, really into it.
So
I'm here for the rest of Robbie Amell's career. I'm locked in.
Oh, yeah. The Devil Book. It got lost in the sand. So, yeah, we'll have a third.
We'll have at least one more.
So, I mean, there's more we could say, but that's mostly, well, we actually didn't say the misdirect.
Oh.
So he's like, he has to go to the bathroom. He's like tugging at his penis like a toddler. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, I had to go to the bathroom. And so then she's like, number 1 or number 2. And he was like, number 1, I would die before I pooped.
I know, I would kill both of us before I pooped in front of you. Which is very funny.
He's being so precious. And she's like, there's a vase right there. Just pee in the vase. And so he's making her like cover her ears and like look away because he's pee shy because he has a gentle stream.
But his doctor says it's totally fine. I like, what doctor is this 16-year-old kid going to where that's a concern?
The 16-year-old kid has the concern.
Oh, well.
That child has brought it up to his doctor.
Cole is pretty Wells for boys. That's fair.
So he's peeing in the vase, and she's like looking the other way,
like into frame,
into the camera, yeah. And she just starts like, and in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, something's totally coming. Like she can see something, and she starts backing up to him, and it looks like she's going to be like Cabin in the Woods or Final Girl
like
Scream,
stabbed right in the face.
And she just turns around, and she goes, boo, and he whips. He whips around and just pees
across her face.
Just completely across her face.
It was hysterical.
And we all screamed. And she was like freaking out for a while. And he felt terrible. She was like, that's fine. Pee's sterile.
It was very good.
And there's a callback later because when Ken Marino's in the house, or it's not even him. I think it's John. That's like, what is this place
smells like piss in here.
So, yeah, I'm all in. I loved it.
Me too.
Let's
get some more from McG.
And
in the house.
I think the screenwriter, I think I read somewhere that he's like famous for this, like selling blacklisted scripts.
Oh, well, let's get him more stuff.
Brian Duffield.
Mm.
Oh, well, he wrote Underwater.
Oh, God, I really liked it. It was on a blacklist too. Yeah, I really liked Underwater. Remember when we went to the movies this year? I'm so sad.
So, yeah, I think that is sufficient for Netflix's The Babysitter.
And The Babysitter Killer Queen.
So who's the Killer Queen?
I don't know. They didn't even play Killer Queen in the movie. Oh, they did? Did I miss it? What was it during?
One of the parts at the end.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the fight between the two girls.
Oh, I think you're right. Okay, fine.
Withdrawn.
It should have been a bigger deal. As always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow, and you can also subscribe on YouTube right over here.
Damn it.
What?
This is like the third time that I've had a pitch where I wanted to like shout out our patrons and be like, and write us a review and subscribe.
Write us a review.
We need all of this stuff and we love you. And I had a whole thing planned and I've forgotten every single time.
Write us a review. You can leave comments on the YouTube. You can do whatever you want. You can hit us up on Twitter, whatever you feel like.
We need
yeah
stuff.
What's that from? I think it's from Seinfeld. Never mind. Okay. Rate, review, and subscribe. YouTube, iTunes, wherever you listen. Bye.